Imagine creatures so powerful they can swallow the moon, plunging the world into darkness. In Philippine mythology, these legendary beings are known as the Moon Eaters. Today we'll explore Philippine folklore's 9 mythical creatures believed to cause eclipses. Number 9. Laho. Laho means eclipse. Naglaho means to swallow without a trace. It is the Tagalog name for the serpent that swallows the moon, corresponding to other moon-eater myths, such as the Bakunawa, Minokawa, Tambanakawa, Arima Anga, and Bwawa, found throughout the Philippines. According to the myth of ancient Kapampangans, the Lahu or Lauhu, also spelled Lahu, was a huge serpent that caused the eclipse by swallowing the sun or the moon. The ancient Kapampangans' concept of the Laho was derived from the Sanskrit Rahu, after some Hindu-Buddhist beliefs were introduced and incorporated into the locality following the gradual settlement of Hindu-Buddhist-influenced immigrants in ancient times. In Vedic myth, Rahu is the severed head of the demon Svarbhanu, attempting to devour the sun and the moon. Number 8. Bwawa. Bwawa, also known as Bwawa in Western Visayas, is a creature living in a sky cave. It flies out and swallows the moon when the food is scarce. Above the sky in a cave called Kalyulundan, the place is guarded by blue smoke. Twice or thrice a year when food is scarce, the Bwawa flies out and engorges the moon, causing an eclipse. If music is played during an eclipse, it releases the moon from its jaws. Number 7. Kedu. The natives of Maguindanao once believed that the eclipse was caused by the monstrous serpent Kedu swallowing either the sun or the moon. The belief in the Kedu is a Hindu influence which proliferated in some parts of Mindanao before the arrival of Islam. Kedu is derived from the Sanskrit Ketu. In Hindu myth, after the Askara, demon, Svarbhanu's head was cut off by Vishnu. His body joined with a snake and became Ketu. In Vedic astrology, when Ketu and Rahu, the bodiless head of Svarbhanu, align with the sun, moon, and earth, eclipses occur. Number 6. Sawa. In Philippine mythology and in the myths of the Ati of Panay, Sawa is a giant, snake-like creature with magical abilities that is associated with rivers and lakes. Sawa is known for swallowing celestial bodies like sun and moon and causing eclipses. Sawa is also said to guard hidden locations and enchanted treasures. Number 5. Olima. The Olima is the Ilocano moon eater. It is described as a winged serpent, phantom, giant, dragon. Its name is a cognate of Halima, monster, in some Philippine languages. The Olima is a moon eater said to dwell within the forests and mountains of the Ilocos region. With immense size, great strength, and formidable powers, the Olima is also described as a hunter, having a malevolent personality and often causes harm to humans and other creatures. Number 4. Minokawa. The Minokawa is a giant dragon-like bird in Philippine legends, particularly the Bagolbo ethnic groups of Mindanao, comparable to other voracious dragons such as the Bakunawa and the Markupo. Its equivalents in other Filipino cultures, including the Arima Anga of the Maranao, the Banog of the Iloco, and the Bwawa of the Hiligaynon and Tagalog. The Minokawa appears as a bird as big as the islands of Negros and Bohol. It has a beak and talons of steel, sharp swords for feathers, and mirror eyes. It lives on the eastern horizon, above the clouds and outside the sky. There it lies in wait for the moon every night and tries to devour her every time she appears. The moon has 8 holes in the horizon to enter the sky and another 8 holes to leave the sky. Thus, she confuses her would-be predator and manages to avoid being eaten, most of the time, at least. When the Minokawa manages to start eating the moon, it causes a lunar eclipse. The ultimate goal of the Minokawa is to swallow the moon, then the sun, and then descend upon Earth to devour all its inhabitants. Fortunately, it can be startled in the same way as normal animals. During an eclipse, one must scream and make noise to cause the bird to release its catch. The Minokawa stops out of surprise, curiosity, or even appreciation of the music. Number 3. Arima Anga. Arima Anga derives from the Malay word harimau, which means tiger or lion. It appears in traditional Maranao folktales such as Pilandok and Arima Anga, the mouse deer and the lion. It is also described in a Maranao myth as one of the moon eaters. Up in the sky lives a huge lion named Arima Anga. The animal sometimes gets playful and it swallows the moon, thus producing an eclipse of the moon. The Arima Anga is forced by the people to disgorge the moon only by making noises during an eclipse of the moon, by beating gongs and plucking their fingernails. The eclipse of the sun happens when one of the wheels of the chariot which carries it gets destroyed, thus forcing it to deviate from its regular path. Number 2, Bakunawa. The Bakunawa is a mythological serpent-like dragon in ancient Philippine mythology. It is believed to be the cause of earthquakes, rains, wind, and eclipses. Ancient people believed that Bathala created the moon and created 6 more to illuminate one night of the week. The nights become more beautiful because of these 7 queen moons, who continuously shore in the night sky. One night, a terrifying creature emerged from the ocean that encircled the globe, devoured the 6 moons. The serpent was called Bakunawa. One night, the Bakunawa showed up again to devour the last moon. Children, elderly, man and women all cried, banging of drums as they saw the world getting darker and the moon being devoured by Bakunawa, shouting, "Return our moon," among other cursing words. This was the only sound heard throughout the world, cries and moans, and took over the hearts of people who feared that the world would end if they lost the only moon they had left. The loud noises stopped as they saw the Bakunawa finally spit out the moon. The joy of the people could not describe that night, and praises of gratefulness to the Almighty who owned all creations. Number 1, Damba no Kano. In the native religion of Mindanao and Mandaya in the Philippines, the moon and the sun are somewhat important characters, rather, personifications of the moon and the sun. The moon was married to the sun, but her husband was angry and prone to outbursts of rage. One day, the sun became particularly mad at the moon. The moon ran away with all her might, but the sun gave chase and pursued her relentlessly. At times, the moon grew tired and slowed down, nearly allowing her pursuer to catch up with her. But he never reached her, because every time he comes close to catching his wife, the moon starts running again, and the two of them are still running, sometimes coming close to one another, but never touching. And that is why the sun and the moon move across the sky. One of the offspring's names is Tambanokano, and to this day he still resides in the depths of the ocean. Tambanokano is a humongous crab with power over lightning. Every time the creature opens and closes his eyes, a bolt of lightning flashes in the sky. Tambanokano unfortunately inherited his father's temper, and he, too, is often angry at the poor moon. It happens several times that he becomes enraged at his mother and rises up, trying to devour the moon alive. But the people saw this and left their homes, beating gongs and shouting at the crab until the creature becomes scared of the noise and retreats to his oceanic home, and that is why the moon still exists. Tambanokano's dwelling is a huge hole somewhere in the ocean floor. When he is there, the ocean stands high, but sometimes he leaves his dwelling and the water rushes into the cave, after which it becomes low tide. The movement this titanic creature makes as it wanders about the ocean floor causes waves to appear on the surface of the sea. When the crab re-enters his home, he pushes the water up again, and that is why the ocean has high and low tides.